Welcome to another episode of the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. I'm your host, Steve Casillo. We appreciate you being here today. And as we do every Friday, we bring in our financial philosopher. That would be Phillip Washington Jr. He is the executive producer of his own podcast, Wealth Building Made Simple. Today, we're talking about the lost decades. What were some of the lost decades? What were the cause? What were the effects? Having faith in the future. That's your takeaway today. Here we go. Say hello to the Mansfieldites.
How's it going, Mansfieldites? And thank you, Steve, for using my new title that you helped me clarify.
And, or I guess they could be Mansfieldians.
Yeah, either one. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you feel most politically correct.
Yeah, as Sheryl Crow said, if it makes you happy. So, executive producer, your new title.
Pretty much. I'm just going to stop going by chief investment officer, and I'm executive producer, Phillip Washington. Right? Just that sounds cooler.
Phillip is here today. We're talking about the lost decades, and which can mean a myriad of things, but you're talking about financial lost decades. Yeah. And what do we mean by that?
Yep, financial lost decades is when your the investments, and we're going to talk about the U.S. stock market for contextual purposes, but it's when the U.S. stock market earns no real return, and real return is when you adjust it for inflation. So when the U.S. stock market earns no real return over a decade, which has happened lots of times, right? The 1930s, 1970s, 2000 and 2010, right? Those are big lost decades over the last 100 years.
And what have been some of the causes of, let's go back, you mentioned the 1930s or the 1970s. What were some of the causes of the lost decade?
So the root cause of every lost decade is the emotions of the overall market are thrown off balance, right? They either are typically it's both greed and fear, right? It's a pendulum of both. It starts off as greed and moves into fear, which causes an overinvestment into the asset class that goes into a lost decade. Mm-hmm. And so that creates a lost decade. It's a lot like if you overstress your body, right, and you don't listen to your body, then you're going to have a period of rest that you just have to take because you didn't listen to your body.
That makes sense. Why are you looking at me when overstressing your body? And you mentioned then the 2000s was also a lost decade.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
Yeah. So that ended with. That was an interesting one because it began with a greed-induced tech boom and bust, but then it bled into another greed-induced investment into real estate in the U.S., which then led into a huge global financial system boom in a relatively short period of time. So you kind of had two periods of greed, and then which led to like a decade of the fear-induced kind of bubble that we're in that is popping.
Right. And you mentioned on your podcast, of which you are the executive producer, Wealth Building Made Simple, you mentioned something about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, the internet versus the mobile versus the next generation of web. And how does that all tie into the lost decades?
You tied that in perfectly because you're the host, right? You know
That's
how to
right,
do this.
Because I'm the host.
But so a lot when I say this, some people go, "All right, Phillip, I get it." Like doom and gloom. Because I also tell them like we're entering from 2020 to 2030. I believe it's going to be another lost decade when you adjust for inflation, real returns of the U.S. stock market over that period of time. So they say, "Well, how do I?" What's the positive? How do I make money? I was like, you make money the same way you make money every point in time because you can choose to be a captured participant of what the market thinks, meaning like you just believe what the market believes and you invest with the market because that's quote unquote the smart thing to do. And then you believe the market is always right. And so how the market feels, you feel, right? And that's being trapped in the emotions of the market. And fine, but you'll get the results of the market if that's what you do. Or you can be an independent thinker and think on your own and think from a neutral standpoint, which a neutral standpoint to me is faith in the future, because faith in the future, or what we call evolution, is undefeated. And so faith in the future is saying, all right, one of the principles that never changes is the fact that new generations bring new economic ideas into the marketplace, and those new economic ideas grow up, and as they grow up, there's profits. And so then once you understand that, then you go, okay, I understand that, and I can logically think back through that and see that to be true. You can also think of it in other domains like music. Right? Every generation thinks their music is the best, and the new generation music sucks.
I was just going to mention that it's really a matter of breaking your habit.
100%.
That my I actually happen to like Herb Alpert, but my dad used to listen to Herb Alpert, and when I was a teenager, I hated his music. But my dad didn't like Glenn Miller, but that's what my grandfather listened to, and breaking those habits. I actually love and listen to the music that my son listens to.
Yeah. That's
having faith in the future.
Having faith in the future, right? Understand it's all the same story rewrapping itself in different expressions. And so if you look at 2000 to 2010, that story was a new economy being rewrapped into the internet, Web 1.
Yeah.
And then so if you invested independently with faith in the future, Amazon and Google was apparent, obvious. Well, 2010 to 2020 was Web 2, mobile, right? Well, Facebook, Apple, right? All those companies became obvious. Okay, now Web 3, like you don't have to be that smart. Like Web 3 is here. Web 3 is here. If you got to be living under a rock to not hear about Web 3, which is like crypto and artificial intelligence. So it's here. Now, all you got to do is like people when they go, but I don't understand it, and it seems dumb. And okay, you can't hear it if you're judging it. So stop your judgment. Have faith in the future. Understand you don't have to understand it. Just do 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds understand it. Okay, will they grow up? Yes. Okay, it's gonna work. So you can participate or you cannot participate. But once you get to the level of faith in the future, then the understanding will come. But you got to quit judging it first, because you can't understand what you judge. That was another quotable, Steve. That was, man.
That was a quotable. We're going to make a reel out of that. And people out there going, what's a reel? To have faith in the future. And so, gosh, you threw out so much wisdom right there. I don't know where to go with this. Keep your eye on new generation trends.
Yeah, that's how you stay young in every aspect of life. That is the eternal fountain of youth.
All right, so let's recap. And then we'll get into the close here, because our coffee break is almost over. Have faith in the future. Embrace, really just keep an eye. I think you had mentioned this before in, let's see, you're over here. You had mentioned this in one of our talks before, of keep an eye on what the younger generation is interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would even say, I feel myself, and I'm tuned in, it's moving fast for me. And so I have lots of conversation with my sons to see what they're interested in, just to keep me aware, because I don't have to know everything. I just got to be able to feel it, connect with it. And if I can connect with it, then I can attract the individuals that are going to go do it. Like I literally told my 7-year-old, he's going to build my AI chatbot.
Nice.
For my company when he's 15 years old, because he wants to code. He's interested in doing it. I don't got to know. I just know that there's one day going to be a artificial, it's here. It's just the costs are coming down, but I'm going to be able to take my brain, all these episodes, all these writings I have, feed it to an artificial intelligence program, And then if you ask it a question, it'll respond the way that I responded in the past, right? It's here. I can learn how to build it. I don't want to, but my 7-year-old will.
And you're not going to hear, "I told you so," 10 years from now when when Phillip says, when Phillip is has his own NFTs and "I told you so." Listen to the man. He's over here, not over there. He's actually over there, but. Have faith in the future.
Have faith in the future.
So if someone wanted to reach out to Phillip Washington Jr. to find out more about having faith in the future, how can they reach out to you?
Best way is stonehillwealthmanagement.com. That's stonehillwealthmanagement.com. And we have a new website coming out next week to sign up for our newsletter that's going to be pretty dope coming out.
That's Phillip Washington Jr. We do this every Friday right here on the podcast, or you can listen to it on your favorite podcast platform. You can watch the video on YouTube or LinkedIn. Your coffee break is over. Time to go back to work. Phillip, let's do this again next week.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Steve.
We appreciate you listening to the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. By the way, if you own a business and you are interested in being a part of the Consumer Advice Series, if you have the knowledge to give information in 10-minute increments to the consumers, shoot me an email to info@aboutmansfield.com. Again, that is info@aboutmansfield.com. We'll tell you how we can get you all set up. Appreciate it. We do it again next week right here on the podcast.